All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on strategy consulting. And look, we're not talking about philosophy or some high-level theory here. We are getting right into the nuts and bolts of what should actually change inside a business after a really focused 90-day strategy engagement. So let's just get right to the heart of it. This is the one question every single leader asks. Okay, if we pour our time, our money, and our energy into this, what will actually be different in 90 days? It's such a fair question, right? Because let's be honest, strategy can often feel like this vague promise that just kind of evaporates the second a workshop is over.
In that experience, it usually leads to one of two things. On one side, you have strategy as theater. You know what this is. It's the big workshop, the fancy slide deck, and this short-lived burst of optimism. Everyone feels totally aligned for about a week, and then it's back to business as usual. Nothing really changes. But on the other side, you have strategy as a system, something durable, something repeatable, a real operating advantage. And that's what we're focused on today. How to build the system, not just put on the show.
So, how do we make sure we're building a system and not just, some corporate theater? Well, here's the secret. The most important work actually happens before day one. To build something that really lasts, you have to start by understanding what's truly going on under the hood. This is what we call Phase 0, the friction audit. In these momentum leaks, they almost always show up in the same places. You've got decision latency, that black hole where a decision goes in and no one knows who's supposed to make the call. You have priority conflict, where, say, sales and product are pulling the company in completely opposite directions. Then there's capacity blindness, where the plan is basically built on resources that don't exist. Metric fog, where nobody trusts the data. And of course, the classic founder gravity, where every single decision gets sucked back to the founder, creating this massive bottleneck. Now, this audit isn't about blame. It's about creating an honest, shared starting line for everyone.
Okay, so with that honest baseline in hand, the 90-day clock can finally start. And these first 30 days, they are a flat-out sprint toward one thing and one thing only: clarity. And you don't find clarity in more ideas. You find it in the hard decisions and the explicit trade-offs that you're willing to make.
So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, first, that long wish list of priorities, it gets collapsed down to a protected few, like 3 at the absolute most. Second, and this is where the real magic happens, the team makes stop doing decisions. What are we actively going to kill to free up capacity for the important stuff? Third, those vague goals like grow get replaced with sharp operational targets, like increase qualified pipeline by 20%. And finally, the process of making decisions actually gets written down. This is the moment strategy stops being just talk and starts getting real.
And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the shift you can literally feel in the room. Your meetings stop being this series of updates where everyone just reports on how busy they are. Instead, they become these focused, high-stakes sessions that are all about decisions. What are we moving forward? What are we stopping? What's blocked, and what trade-off are we going to make to unblock it? I mean, that shift alone is a massive operational asset.
So you've made the tough calls. You've got clarity. Now what? Well, the next 30 days are all about making that new clarity permanent by building it right into the company's DNA. This is the unglamorous but absolutely essential work of constructing the actual operating system.
And when we say install, we're not talking about new software. We're talking about installing new business processes. Things like clear, single-point ownership for every single priority, a predictable weekly meeting, the same time, same day to tackle blockers head-on, a logical sequence for the work, so you're not, trying to build the roof before the walls are up, and a small, trusted set of key performance indicators, or KPIs, that everyone actually believes in.
Now, when this system is in place, the day-to-day behavior of the company just changes. New projects can't get started on a whim anymore. They need a clear objective tied to a priority. A shiny new idea can't just steal resources from something important without an explicit trade-off decision from the leadership team. Blockers don't fester in silence. They get surfaced every single week. And this frees up leadership to do their most important job, removing constraints for their teams.
Okay, this brings us to the final, crucial 30 days. This is where you make all these changes stick. It's all about stress testing your assumptions and empowering the team to run the system themselves, creating what the source material so brilliantly calls irreversible momentum.
The crucial shift here is that the system starts to become self-correcting. Your big strategic bets, they're no longer just ideas on paper. They're being tested against real data, specifically against leading indicators. Those are the early signals that tell you if you're on the right track or not. The team starts to learn the difference between metrics that are just noise and the few that actually predict success. Any little bits of friction in the process get ironed out. And most importantly, leadership transitions from directing the system to practicing it, building the discipline to make it last.
And I absolutely love this point. The objective isn't to create some perfect, flawless plan from day one. It's to install a new way of working that is so much clearer and more effective that it becomes impossible for the team to go back to the old, chaotic way. That irreversibility is just so much more valuable than some perfect plan that never actually gets implemented.
So we've walked through the how, but what about the so what? Let's ground all this in reality and look at a couple of super common business problems to see how this operating system delivers a real, tangible payoff. First up, a classic, the founder bottleneck. We have all seen this movie before. A super talented founder has built a great business, but now they are the single point of failure. Every decision, big or small, has to go through them, and the entire company's speed is now limited by their personal bandwidth. It's a huge problem.
So the intervention here is to build what you could call a delegation architecture. By defining really clear decision boundaries and assigning true ownership, you remove the founder as the default problem solver. And the outcome after 90 days? The founder's time shifts from being buried in the weeds to providing high-level oversight. And crucially, the speed of decision-making across the whole company increases dramatically, without even hiring more people. That's a huge win.
Okay, here's another pain point we see all the time, the priority carousel. You know how it goes. The quarter starts with focus, but then pretty soon, new ideas pop up, pet projects emerge, and teams get pulled in a dozen different directions. The original plan just fractures, deadlines slip, and everybody's trust in the whole planning process just evaporates.
Well, this system we've been talking about, it acts like a shield against this kind of chaos. It forces leadership to say no, to make those tough stop-doing calls, and to protect the chosen priorities week after week. And the result is so powerful. The team actually starts finishing things, completion rates go up, and even more importantly, people regain confidence in the plan because they see their leaders defending it every single week.
So how do you know if you've truly built a system and not just more theater? Here's the ultimate test. After 90 days, you should be able to point to these specific things. 3 or fewer protected priorities, hard evidence of initiatives that were stopped, a named owner for every key goal, a consistent weekly meeting that happens no matter what, a small set of metrics that everyone actually trusts, and real proof that decisions are being made faster. If you have these things, you've achieved real change.
And that really brings us to the final, critical takeaway. When this is done right, a 90-day strategy engagement isn't about producing some document that just sits on a shelf. It's about forging a new, more effective way for the entire business to operate. You didn't just buy a slide deck. You built a durable, long-term operating advantage. And that is a system that will pay dividends long, long after those 90 days are over.